We can now look at payments and prepayments. So let's just create 2 examples of payments for these customers. This will be the exception case to manually create payments from customers. Method 1. Receipt against an existing invoice. So in the first place, we have a payment we want to make for Innovate Corp, or money we received from Innovate Corp for 40,000 Rand. And let's say that 40,000 Rand is then a partial payment for this invoice, which is 55,200 Rand. So the easiest way to do a deposit or money received from a customer is to say, go view the invoice, and just take this shortcut here and say, okay, we're going to do a receipt. The receipt we perhaps got on the 15th of May. Because I went to the invoice and said, create receipt, it fills in all the information for me. It defaults to my FNB current account, and that's the account where I received this. But it already knows it's for that customer. It says a standard message there. And it does the allocation for me to accounts receivable for this customer and links the payment to this invoice, but it doesn't know what the amount is. So all I need to do here is to say the payment I received from the customer is only 40,000, not the full invoice amount. And then I'm done. So if I now go back to sales invoices, we'll see that this one still has an invoice amount of 55,200, of which 15,200 is still outstanding. And the same if I go to my customers. I can now already see I have a few customers who have no transactions yet. That's why their balances show 0 and their status shows paid. But for Innovate Corp, you can now see there are already 3 invoices issued. So if I click on the counter 3, it takes me back to this view. It shows me the 3 invoices. But if I go back to customers and I go to the accounts receivable view, then you can see there are 3 invoices that were posted in the system, and then now a deposit that was received from the customer, processed as a receipt. So my customer's balance is then necessarily reduced by that 40,000, and there's only 40,000 outstanding. Good. So if we do another manual payment as an example, which also went into the FNB account, we'll do it for Cloud Tech on the 25th of May. So Cloud Tech Industries. There's only 1 invoice. If I don't know what was paid, I'll just click on the invoices for Cloud Tech, view it, say New Receipt, change my date to the 25th of May, and just confirm, was it received in the FNB account? Yes, it was. And then just change the amount again, and say, here I received 35,000 Rand from Cloud Tech Industries. Method 2. Receipt for prepayment unallocated cash. But there might be a scenario where a client pays cash for which an invoice hasn't been issued yet, or an EFT deposit for which an invoice hasn't been issued yet. So let's look at those examples. If the customer doesn't have an invoice yet, then we go to Receipts. Now, here you'll see there are already a few transactions. And the 2 we just did are here, which are Cloud Tech Industries and Innovate Corp. But we now want to manually add more receipts. So if I say New Receipt, you'll see again it defaults to the FNB account and today's date. But let's say for argument's sake we received this payment on the 23rd of May. And we received it in the FNB account. So we'll leave it like that. But in which account will we receive it? It's a customer. So the customer's transactions are part of accounts receivable in the ledger. Which customer? Let's choose Smart Innovation. And take note, there are no invoices for Smart Innovation yet. So we just leave that amount out. The question is just how much did we get paid? Let's say we received 16,500 there. And we can create it. So there's the receipt. If I now go to Smart Innovations, Customers, Smart Innovations, you'll see there are still no invoices. But Smart Innovations accounts receivable balance is minus 16,500. So they basically made a prepayment for us, for an invoice that still needs to be issued. And then I just want to do one more example where I say we again received money on the 31st of May from a customer. But it's cash. So if we receive cash, it's not in our FNB account. It must go into petty cash. And I can perhaps just make a note here, say cash payment. Again, it will go to accounts receivable. Which customer? Let's say it's Data Tech Solutions, who paid us 2,500 Rand. And now I can create it. Back to customers. You would see Data Tech paid me 2,500 Rand, but cash, so it's in my petty cash. And so I can also go back to this level and check. Under petty cash, I now have a balance of 2,500 Rand. If I open it, it's that deposit we got, a cash deposit from Data Tech Solutions. And back to bank and cash. I'll now also see here there might now be deposits that are duplicated because I did manual transactions. So you'll now see the bank transactions we imported from the CSV are all here in suspense. In this account. This one I manually created for the 40,000 Rand. And Smart Solution, Smart Innovations, there should have been a manual one, but the Cloud Tech Industries is also a duplicate. So that's why I said in the beginning, the manual way of doing transactions is not the common way. But if you're not going to use your bank statements to do the transactions, then you can do it under the customers. Choose the invoice that was paid, view it, and do new receipt there. But it's the exception that you'll do it if you're going to work from your bank statements, because otherwise, you'll get duplicates. So let's quickly fix those duplicates. So we now have a bunch of receipts, and we can now see this one and that one are duplicates of each other. And so is that 40,000 Rand and that 40,000. So to fix it, let's just quickly do a batch operation. So I say batch delete, and I say, that one was unnecessary, although I know it's correctly allocated against the invoice, so I can take this one out. And this one was perhaps unnecessary, and say batch delete. And there, my duplicate transactions are now out. So now I only have one 35,000 Rand and one 40,000 Rand receipt. So batch operations allow you to batch update, batch create, but also batch delete if you want to fix duplicates.